Good day, good night, all. CFR Network, CFR Sports, welcome back. We have a special guest, and it's not all the way across the pond. I've kept it very local. Andrew, please introduce yourself to the listeners, sir.
Hello, guys. Well, I'm Andy Shepherd. We were just talking before we got to this, but yeah, I'm based in London now, but I'm a Leicester boy originally, so not far from where you are in Birmingham. And yeah, I'm a sports host. I'm a presenter. I'm a jack of all trades, shall we say?
Indeed, indeed. And I think for myself, just to peek behind the fourth wall of sorts, I've only discovered you, unless you can tell me otherwise, via this PFL. You've been going for a bit, but I've only seen your expertise the last sort of few months, last just under a year, I guess, I think, or was it just over a year?
For me, that's great that the new people are seeing what I'm doing. I mean, like, I've been around a minute. I tell you that. I've been hosting stuff for a while. I started out I think my first hosting gig, or one of them, was at the 2012 Olympics. I was doing some stuff with the
Wow.
basketball there. I was a researcher on the basketball there, and then got some opportunities there. Then I went on to Jamal Edwards' SBTV, was doing things with him for a while, and then from that other stuff came like Red Bull cliff diving, and then I think it was 2015. I got a call from Bama. Um,
Okay, yes, the good old,
RIP Bama.
unfortunately.
I got a call from them, and I hosted their stuff until I think 2018, when they kind of got swallowed into Bellator. From that, I had a great relationship and continued to do so with David Hay. So I did his fights when he came back. Uh,
Wow.
I think that was 16 or 17, and then yeah, with WWE, I started working with them in 2017, and then
Whoa, 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 Andy. WWE/WWF. You've done work with them.
yeah, man, I was with them for 5 years. Been with them, yeah. I still talk to them now. We're still on great terms. But I did the show called NXT UK, which, man, like, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It was a UK weekly show on BT Sport, Channel 5, shown in the US on Peacock. Yeah, did 5 years there, and that's why I went from. That was the first time I was ever did ring announcing. Before that, I was an anchor, a host, shall we say.
Yes,
Blagged my way into doing ring announcing for them. Then off the back of that, kind of blagged my way into commentary. And yeah, they were great, man. Huge fan. Been a
I
fan of that since I was.
I am in awe, sir. I didn't appreciate you have gone that far and deep, and not necessarily now, but the WWF days, as everyone was, especially in the UK, I was a massive fan. Not so much now because back then I thought all of that was real, sir. So
Oh, we all did. Well, I
yes,
remember. I remember, like, when I was a kid, um, like like trying to justify why they weren't getting busted open all the time. I was like, oh, look, they have to fight every night. So it's because I used to watch a lot of WCW, because
okay,
I didn't have Sky TV. My mate used to VHS
yes,
record the pay-per-views for me and give them to me, but day to day it was WCW, and you couldn't hit with an closed fist. And I was like, well, look, that's why they're not getting busted open. They're getting slaps all the time. But I would argue till the cows came home that it was legitimate. Even when I Googled it and it said that pro wrestling, like the dictionary, whatever, was like, yeah, predetermined, blah, blah.
predetermined.
No, this is wrong. This internet is wrong. Um, I think sort of the rise of mixed martial arts kind of, showed people that there was that theatrics involved. But yeah, man, like pro wrestling, is my first love. Was my first love as a kid, and I'm very lucky that my journey has included that and a lot of other combat sports, which I think I think as a sports fan, we'll get excited about things. Of course, recently England win the Euro finals, and the whole nation was enthralled by that, whether you
Yes,
football or not. But I think with combat sports, there's so much jeopardy with each and every matchup.
yes,
WWE, yes, there is jeopardy because people get seriously hurt, but the
exactly.
storyline, the theater that people that draw us all in. Yeah, man, I feel very privileged that a lot of my work has been in combat sport as of late.
Definitely. Again, congratulations. Is there any more sort of works with the WWE or that
Yeah,
relationship's
man, like, I still talk to the guys on a regular basis there, and and we'll see what occurs. I think
mm,
them going to Netflix next year is going to be huge, huge.
massive?
I think, look, everyone in the world knows of WWE. You go to, and this is something I've seen myself. Like, you go to anywhere in the world, and people know. It could be Hulk Hogan, it could be Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, it could be John Cena. Everyone's got someone they
A
know.
reference point to
Exactly.
yeah,
So, I think going to Netflix, just, everyone's got Netflix, really, haven't they? Or everyone's got a mate to log in for Netflix. I think it's
exactly.
I think at the moment in the UK, as an example, if you haven't got TNT Sport, and you haven't got WWE Network, where do you watch it? Yeah, you might find it online somewhere, but there's a barrier to entry. Whereas Netflix, so many of us have that
Exactly.
suddenly that wall to consuming their content goes away. And man, honestly, the stuff they're doing, they are incredible. The evolution of that company in the last
Oh
few years
yeah.
is spectacular, man. So we'll see, man. We'll see what happens with WWE. I support them all the way, and I've no doubt they'll continue to grow and flourish.
100%, 100%, especially with that huge financial backing they have now and stuff. So yeah, it's only up in that respect. Sports entertainment as a whole, including the classical combat sports, your pugilists and your mixed martial arts. Um, it's a great time to be a purveyor or a fan of, sports entertainment. There's so much out there at the moment.
Yeah, and I think sort of sports entertainment and sports as a whole, particularly combat sports, um, there's a lot of demand for it. I think we live in a world where you can see so much on demand going back to Netflix. You can watch Bridgerton or The Crown or whatever your shows. You can watch it whenever you want.
Yeah.
You can watch it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the morning, whenever. And yeah, people do kind of rush to see things in the first few weeks if it's a big moment, but otherwise you consume it as you want. Sport is one of the few things left that kind of has an upside from watching it live. There's nothing quite like the football game. I don't know how
Yes.
many people, I haven't seen the viewership yet, but I've bet the vast majority of people, 99.99%, are watching that thing live. How many people are watching it on demand afterwards? Very few.
Very few.
Because being part of it and seeing the reaction and seeing things unfold live, that's what sport brings with it. It's not a soap opera per se. So,
Indeed.
so I think that's why sports and combat sports are so in demand, particularly by broadcasters, because they know it brings an audience.
It puts bums on seats, as they say.
Yeah, man, it definitely does. Like again, you go to a WWE show, go to boxing shows, the influencer boxing,
Mm.
PFL, UFC, you name it. People turn up because they want to. I always put it like this: there's an emotional roller coaster that we all love to be on. That's why we're sports fans.
Yeah.
Whether you're a football fan, rugby fan, boxing, wrestling, whatever you want. If we're honest, we're all fans because we love the roller coaster of emotions it takes us on. Everyone's fandom goes to a different level.
Mm.
But ultimately, if you're watching that sport, yeah, you might appreciate what they're doing and so forth, but really it's that emotional roller coaster that we
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah. And sometimes going past that when you, depending on the person themselves, it's that experience, the highs, the lows, but then it's okay, I've watched a few of this guy's fights or this young lady fighting. Let's have a look at some of her videos and stuff, and then they start to actually attract to the character, not just the performance. And then it's actually
Sometimes as well, that's reverse engineered. People might find them on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, and then be drawn to their stuff.
yes,
I mean, that's why the rise of influencer boxing, particularly a couple of years ago, was so great because these people who already had a following online were drawing their audience in to fights because of that. So yeah, it works both ways, and I think social media following and creating a story and a platform for yourself is so vital. Like as well as host of stuff, I produce and direct a lot of stuff as well. And when I used to do a lot of the stuff with UFC, the sort of pre-fight documentaries, and
ah,
I remember talking to athletes, and some of them will be a bit grumpy about doing it. Like I'm training, I've got a fight in 3 or 4 weeks' time. I don't want to be doing this. I just want to get in the gym, get out, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
You always could tell the ones who were had their head screwed on, like Darren Till. I remember I did his documentary leading up to the Cowboy Cerrone fight, which was his
ooh,
big breakout fight.
exactly,
And I was doing the fight week doc with Darren. And I remember I can't remember what the fight was, but being with him during a few days after that fight. And he was like, man, you whatever you want, I'll give it to you. Because he knew that was a huge opportunity. He got it. He got that every minute, every bit of content that was being made around him would only help him.
exactly.
And you see how big his profile grew. Yeah, so the ones who really get the content is part of it. Sports is entertainment. I go back to my original point. People want to watch and enjoy for the thrill, for the spectacle. It's
Hmm.
entertainment. Pure sport is sports day at school. When you
Yes,
run 100 meters at school, that's pure sport. If
yes,
you want to have a fight, cool, go in the back of the Lamb and Flag on a Friday night and have a dust up. But
this is
once
it.
you start getting paid money and good money,
Yeah,
that's because ultimately you are part of entertainment. That's why people are paying.
totally. And you get the other side as well, where people are vicariously living through these athletes. Like, yeah, I used to do a bit of high school wrestling, or I fancy myself a little bit of a boxer kind of thing.
Yeah, I think particularly, you know, probably as men, everyone they have these innate like, oh yeah, yeah, oh mate, tell you what, when I see red, it goes off the chain, mate. And everyone's kind of got that,
Yeah.
in, so they watch these things, and yeah, they probably do live vicariously through it. I mean, I know when I was a kid watching pro wrestling, I've lived vicariously through it. I mean, I didn't have a boss like Stone Cold Steve Austin when I was at school, but you still you see these things, you imagine yourself in these situations. For me, I
Yes.
was liking it to that, a lot of girls when they're growing up, perhaps like boy bands,
Hmm.
and they have that escapism. And then conversely, not boys like boy bands as well and so forth, but then perhaps other people like sports, and
Mm,
that's kind of when you're growing up, perhaps that's a platform for people to live vicariously,
totally. And on the other side as well, it for the other people who are physically that way inclined, it may drive them to say, actually, this could be, I like physical stuff. I'm not too good academically. Maybe this is a path, Muay Thai, kickboxing, mixed martial arts, boxing. Maybe I can actually do this. I can see someone from my hometown or not too far away from me being successful.
That's the story of a lot of people. I mean, I think that's if you look at most athletes, that's their story. I mean, I'll talk to WWE. I know a lot of people there. I mean, Becky Lynch. I just
Mm,
read her book recently. That's how it started for her. She used to see people on the TV with her brothers, and be like, oh, maybe I'll give that a go. I mean, even me, like I was going to be a professional wrestler until I got to probably 18, 19, probably until I left university. Maybe early university things changed a little bit, but like I was going to be a wrestler. Then even when I was living in London, just before I started BAMR, actually, I went to wrestling school. I went to the Progress Wrestling School.
wow.
I did a couple of months there, and I saw how tough it is. It was a great experience for me.
Grueling. Give me a little bit of an insight into that.
It's not. I used to run track, so
Yeah.
I had a pretty good sports background going into it. But it's it's not sport. It's not just sport. Like it's ultra physical. It's like any other. Like it's like jujitsu. It's like
Mm,
boxing. Whatever. There's a sport asset to it, of course. But then, man, you're telling a story, and like
yes.
you're doing these moves, and you're trying to not hurt people. There's so many things to say. Like, yeah, you've got to be able to do it, do the maneuver, whatever it is. You then got to be able to do it safely,
Safely.
so that
Awesome.
you're not going to hurt someone or yourself. And then at the same time, it's not just throwing out moves willy nilly. You're telling a story. You're telling a story in that match. So it's not just, oh, I'll do a kick here, I'll do a punch, I'll do a suplex here. Everything goes into a certain place. So
Sequence.
yeah, man, I honestly have so much respect for pro wrestlers and what they do, because so much goes into it. And I think, maybe people from the outside watch it and think, it's men oiled up in their pants. Maybe it is sometimes. But what they're doing is, man, like again, for me, I spent 5 years ringside watching these guys do stuff. And I saw things happen on the fly, stuff that, you might see in a movie. But these
Yeah.
guys aren't moving. They're doing this thing live. They're changing
Live.
live in
Mm.
front of thousands of people, millions of people at home, and they're having to call something on the fly, which could really hurt them. And pulling it off like nothing. Like honestly, the utmost respect to everyone who steps into the ring.
100%. And boxing ring, squared circle, cage, anybody who can put themselves physically on the line, whether it's a predetermined match or if it's a proper, let's go for it, you have to respect that. Irregardless of the performance, sometimes we can say, bloody hell, like what? What's he doing? Like he didn't really go for it, but you have to respect it.
And yeah, I mean, like, again, let's look at boxing and MMA for a minute. Like I've been to hundreds of fights. I don't more maybe now. I don't know, but I don't want to do it. I haven't got the nuts to go in there.
No.
I almost pride myself now. Again, working with the PFL and BAMR and Bellator and other places over the years. It's like, man, I'm the biggest wimp in any room I walk into. I'm surrounded by these guys who are legends,
Yeah.
who are actual fighters. Look, I'm not a small guy, but I walk into a room and look, there's no. I think sometimes this guy might walk into rooms like just instinctively you size people up like, oh, I could take him. I could
Yeah.
take him. Man, I walk into any room when I'm at work, like anyone, male, female, adult, child, catering person, they can all beat the hell out of me, and I'm okay with it. It's a great feeling to know that what, if it kicks off, I ain't winning this.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I've got a strong team behind me if it does all kick off.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Always feel safe when we go out for dinner.
100%. So let's peel back some of the layers. I mean, we've gone quite far of sorts. What was obviously you said wrestling was a big part of your life. University, you was looking to go do the actual wrestling, etc. How did that actually work step by step? So you had the idea, you're watching it. what was the next step? Did you obviously the internet was around then, so did you Google wrestling schools kind of thing or?
So the wrestling school came a bit later, actually, after I moved to London. At university, I don't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do, if I'm honest with you. I wanted to be a wrestler when I got to university. I was
Mhm.
pretty young. I can't remember when it kind of drifted away, but there weren't a lot of platforms, a lot of places to train when I
No.
was that I knew about when I was at uni.
Yeah.
When I left uni, I went traveling for a year, which is probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. Like to this day, I anyone who tells me I want to go backpacking around the world, I support them. I've got a young son, and if he tells me he wants to do it, I'm like, mate, you definitely go and do it. It was a big thing for me. And I remember when I was away, I was trying to think what I want to do. I was talking about being an actor and stuff like that, but I mean, what I do is very hard. Like competitive wise, being an actor, I think is even more so.
Another
Um,
level.
another level. So I thought about doing that. I was like, I don't know if I can do it or if I'm committed enough to do it. But then I thought about what would be a great job. I love traveling. I love traveling and being a show off. And I remember thinking, Blue Peter would be a good job, wouldn't it? Blue Peter.
There we
Uh,
go.
and that's where the presenting thing kind of came around. But it wasn't like I just moved to London and it happened. After traveling, I got an internship in London. I had to sleep on my brother's floor for several months.
Wow.
Ended up landing at a film company called Big Talk Productions, who made things like Hot Fuzz and
Yes, I know them. Hmm.
yes, that was cool. That gave me a sort of insight into the media to begin with. Um, while I was there, I kind of made a show reel. Some guys there helped me make a show reel. Just mucking around, being a bit of an idiot. If people Google,
Showing your range, Andy.
well, less range, just me being a buffoon. Really, it was just. I mean, if people Google it, they can probably find it. It's called Get London Talking. But yeah, it's out there. But it's funny now. I said that to some agents because I think the big thing is, I come from Loughborough. Like my parents are teachers. I don't know anyone in the media. I didn't know if I could do it.
Mm.
Kind of, if I'm honest with you. But I sent that show roll out to some agents and so forth, and I actually got really good response. I ended up meeting some of the biggest agents in town. At the time, I really looked at people like Russell Brand, and I got to meet his agent, John Knoll, and that was cool. And Steve Jones was another guy I looked up to, and I
Hmm.
meetings with his agencies and stuff like that. And it was really, really promising. Started getting some auditions and doing things at the London 2012 Olympics and SBTV, as I said.
So
Uh,
SPTV, flesh that out a little bit for me. I didn't mean to get some more information on that. What was you doing with Jamal, Rising Paradise to him as well?
yeah, he's like, Jamal helped me a lot. So I contact him, and I think I was doing a temp job at an estate agent or something, just to right. And I remember emailing him, just being like, "Hey, love your stuff. Would love to do something with you." And I just imagined I'd never hear from him. And within minutes, he got back to me. I was like, "This is cool." So we started a dialogue. We talked. We met up and stuff, and then eventually an opportunity came to host some sports stuff for him on his channel. Uh,
Wow.
and I started doing all this sports stuff. And I actually remember working with him and a guy called Will Brophy. We developed a whole sports channel. Had meetings with like big investors and stuff like that. So we worked for a long time trying to put this separate sports channel together. Never got quite to where it needed to be, but
Hmm.
worked with Jamal and that team a lot. And even for a long time afterwards, I would be gym buddies. We'd go to the gym and stuff together. It was cool hanging out with him and just sort of getting an insight
Mm.
in his mindset and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, worked with SBTV and that opens some doors. Ended up working on things like Red Bull cliff diving on Dave, hosting like travel stuff for the Guardian and things. So just like any job, you're sending your stuff out there. You're hoping someone bites and
Yes.
out 100 times, and you might get 5 bites, and you might get 1 gig out of those five. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's it's
Building it.
it's tough. Wasn't easy. And then I really think a turning point kind of came. Yeah, I think I just done Red Bull cliff diving, and I got a call from a chap called David Green who ran Bamber at the time. Now I'd done one of my first ever presenting jobs was hosting, I think, a ring girl competition for them in a shopping mall in Birmingham. I don't know how I got that gig. I don't know really what I was doing. I blagged it, did it, didn't make a complete buffoon of myself. For a while, I hustled him and the Bama guys to let me do some backstage reporting or do whatever. They were on Channel 5 at the time. So that's,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then, after a while, sort of you drift down the path a little bit. I haven't heard from him, but then out of nowhere, I'm talking 2, 3 years, I get a phone call saying, "Hey, can you come and host? Are you still presenting? Can you come and host this thing? One of our shows, like I think it was the next day." Of course, yeah. I jumped on it, went and did it. And then that was me. So, Bamboo, it wasn't a lot of shows each year. I think it was at our peak, maybe like six or something, 6 or 7 shows a
Six,
year.
yeah, yeah.
Not, some years less. But that then opened a door for a relationship with David Hay, who, again, I
Legends.
I can't say enough about David. I mean, first of all, he's just a great guy. He was great to work with, and has always been fantastic to me. But on his comeback, when he came back and had a few fights, he really pushed me to be involved. And understandably, channels like Dave were like, we're not sure, like, should we use him, this guy or not? And David really pushed hard for me to be a part of those broadcast teams. And I was, and that was great. Off the back of that, at this point, like my show reel, I had like the anchoring stuff, had some report. Yeah,
Yes,
my show reel had a few layers, shall we say, to
indeed.
it. And I was, I was working at a place called Fullwell 73, which is a great production company. I'd worked there from like the end of 2012. I came in there after the Olympic. They did a lot of stuff with One Direction and a lot of stuff. They're now huge. I mean, if you look up Fullwell 73, those guys are just gargantuan.
Mm.
James Corden's the Late Show in the States. They're just a powerhouse. So it was great
Wow.
to be with them when there was like 10 people in the office. But I was doing stuff there, and because of James Corden's Late Show, the UK office would do any stuff in the UK for it. And they had a sketch come in, which was James's parents going to the O2 to meet some WWE superstars and muck around. It was a little sketch. So I was the producer on that. So I went to the O2, and I mean, I'm just trying not to get giddy. Like everyone, the reason I was put on it because everyone at Fullwell 73 knew how much of a wrestling fan I was. So I went there, did the stuff, got on really well with the producers at WWE, who, I'm backstage at one point. They're like, "Oh, do you want to hold the belt, like the real belt, the one that goes on
The
TV?"
real one.
And I'm like, absolutely. And I've got pictures. I mean, again, people scroll through my Instagram, they'll see them. I've got pictures of me holding that belt. We then go out to the the arena, and the producer who's with us like, "Do you want to go in the ring?" I was like, "Absolutely." Remember, I'm trying to be like, I'm a producer for James Corden's Late Show at this point. And
Yes.
I'm like a kid in a candy shop. I look like an
Geeking out.
but then anyway, I got on really well with the guys there. Kasama, the producer at WWE, who's an absolute just amazing. We kept talking, and after a while, I was like, "Look, if someone was going to send through a demo to WWE's hosting department, how does this work?" A few weeks go by, whatever, find the right person, I send off my demo reel, and pretty soon I get an email from a guy called Tom Phillips. And Tom Phillips, again, I was watching WWE. Tom Phillips is the name of one of the commentators, the SmackDown commentator at the time. And I'm like, this can't be the same Tom Phillips. Like, this person's not emailing me. He's the host of SmackDown. It was the real Tom Phillips. And we started talking. They said they liked my stuff, and that began conversations. Now, I thought that perhaps they'd give me some lip service because I was a producer for the Late Show, which is understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Several months later, I wake up, I think it's a text or an email from Michael Cole, who is, again, if you know WWE, you know he is, I think, the GOAT now of commentary in pro wrestling. He is just spectacular. And he was the boss of all the announcers. He calls me, send me a message, say, "Hey, I need to talk to you." So I jump on the phone with him late that day, and he's like, "Hey, we're launching a UK tournament thing. Do you want to do it?" I was like, "Yeah." And he asked me if I'd done commentary before, which I hadn't. Now, in these roles that I do, I think in any role, it's often good to be like, "Yeah, I've done it."
Of course.
I knew, even at that point, I knew how difficult commentary is. I was like, "I've done bits, not a lot," giving myself some bounce. But then he's asked, had I done any ring announcing? And I was like, "Well, I've been in a boxing ring. It's a ring. I've interviewed people in a boxing ring,
Yeah.
kind of announcing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done
Come on.
it."
Let's do it.
So that one I did blag on. The commentary, I was like, the ring announcer, I blagged myself on. He's like, "Great, cool. I'll send you a contract. Here's the stuff." So I turned up, and there's a big announcement and stuff like that at the O2, and it was great. And I got to meet Triple H. I got to meet,
Hunter Hurst Helmsley.
yeah, he's, again, just a great, amazing. I remember I was in the green room with Cole and William Regal, who again was,
Oh my God, William Regal.
and Hunter just walks in and have a conversation with Hunter Hurst Helmsley, and his parting words were, "Just don't fuck it up."
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah. And so anyway, I did that. Then that following January 2017, I was the ring announcer for the UK tournament 2 nights, which in retrospect was just a roll of the dice for WWE. A bunch of talent, myself included, Oh, sorry, actually, no, I'd done a lot of live TV at that point, but I'd never done ring announcing.
Hmm.
A lot of other talent who'd never worked live on TV as wrestlers, all doing this 2 night tournament. It could have really become egg on WWE's face, but everyone involved in that put out all the stops. And if you've got access to WWE Network, I'm sure it's other places as well. The UK tournament back in 2017 was spectacular, man.
Mm.
2 nights was fantastic. I sucked, particularly at the rehearsals. I remember being at the rehearsals the day before, and I had no idea what to do as a ring announcer. I don't know. I don't know what I
But
was doing
so when you say you sucked, as in your presence, or you was just one,
the whole
two, three?
time. I'd
Okay.
never done it. I'd never done it before, and I didn't know what it was. Cole had said to me, he's like, it's not about like a big personality. It's about, announcing the guys and blah, blah. So when someone says it's not about, having a big personality, as a
Mm.
Brit, you're like, oh, okay, I'll be pretty in myself. As
Yes.
an American, particularly in the world of pro wrestling, I mean, that still means you're over the top, So I remember being at rehearsals and doing the announcements, and like, you can kind of you get a feeling like from the people around them, like looking at each other, there's a few eye movements like,
Mm.
who is this guy and why is he doing this? And I could tell there was some concern. I could tell there's some concern. And then Cole just shouted down to me. He was up in the booth was up on a level. He just shouted down, be like, Andy, we hired Andy, just be you. We hired you for your personality, just be you. Or something to that stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, stop trying to be a ring announcer.
Just do
Just
you. Yeah.
and I went home that night and just, reset, and I got away with it. The next 2 days I got away with it. And that was the start of a beautiful thing. When WWE launched that brand the following year, it was announced at the Royal Albert Hall. So I got to host the Royal Albert Hall, which was sick. Mum and dad were
Ooh.
there. I think that's one of the few shows my mum and dad have been to, which was a real privilege. Yeah, then NXT UK launched, and it was great. I think it was an uphill battle, particularly once COVID hit. But if you look at the talent
Yeah.
that came out of NXT UK, second to none. If you look at how many people were on that roster and how many now are making huge waves on the main roster, it's shooting. Gunther is an example. Rhea Ripley's another one.
Mm.
Um, all like those guys. I mean, Rhea's already main evented WrestleMania at least twice. Gunther will be main eventing wrestler. I have no doubt in the next 1 to 2 years will be WWE champion. I mean, that place has generated some of the best talent going. They've talked about in NXT Europe and NXT and other places. There's been rumors about. I think that would be great. I think
100%.
I think bringing in talent from these regions and developing them. It's a lot like what PFL are doing at the moment, really. But,
Exactly.
but we're giving sort of localized platforms to talent. I
Hmm.
mean, Gunther, or as he was known in NXT UK, was Walter. He wouldn't have been in the WWE if it wasn't for NXT UK. He didn't want to move out of Germany. He didn't want to move to the States. But WWE got him into NXT UK.
Ah.
He solidified himself. Everyone saw what it was like to work with. He became a star there. And then, easily does it. Okay, well, this is how WWE works. Do you want to come out to America for a little bit? Okay. And now he's out there, and now he's out there being a big superstar. But if they tried to sign him from being Walter, from what I was told, he was like, "Nah, I'm not moving to America. Doesn't matter what
Mm.
I'm not moving." And now he's out there. So yeah, it really shows the success of those systems.
Definitely, definitely. And also it shows, especially with from your story, being consistent, sometimes having to blag it, but putting yourself on the line, putting not just thinking, oh, what about this? What about that? Actually putting that into practice, sending those emails, being
Yeah, man.
persistent.
Again, I think just reaching out to people. I mean, and that's how a lot of my stuff has come. Just some stuff like the Bama stuff. That was a conversation that after I don't know 2, 3 years of not hearing from them, I must have popped into someone's mind. That was great. Other stuff like WWE was me dropping them a line.
Mm.
Even PFL. Originally, when I got to work with them was because I dropped someone an email there, and then something happened that allowed me to step in and have an opportunity. So I mean, and with me, like I moved from being the ring announcer to being the anchor and the play-by-play guy for NXT UK, and that was just me seeing once I got into the system, seeing what the opportunities were,
Yes,
and they don't really have anchors as I would be in Bama or with a normal sports thing here. The play-by-play guy does it all. I was like,
exactly.
wouldn't mind trying to do that. So then I spent months working with people like Tom Phillips and Vic Joseph and Johnny Quasta and a bunch of people just trying to learn how to be a commentator, which is really hard to
Oh
do.
yeah.
But that again was just, I saw it as an opportunity, and I had some amazing people who gave me their time and their expertise and sort of helped me get into that position.
But for the lay, what is the difference between play-by-play and a commentator?